I don't necessarily think that it's a massive indictment of Dallas that they lost to Edmonton in the conference final again. And I don't think that it means that if they meet Edmonton this year in the playoffs that they're screwed.
It would be a criminal move by us to not bring up the Rat King himself, our very good friend Brad Marchand, or Marchand, depending on what side of that debate you get on. It was so weird. I'm curious from a Bruins fan perspective what your playoff experience was like, because from a human being standpoint, Luds and I can speak for Luds because he was talking about a lot. We loved watching what he was doing in the playoffs because he was fantastic for Florida. Is that weird for Bruins fans to watch that? Were they able to? I mean, is this Ray Bork going to watch him win a cup with the Avalanche because you're just happy for the person? Or, I mean, the Panthers are in your division, for goodness sakes. That had to be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of A, a little bit of B. I think that the weird part about it was that you traded him to not necessarily a rival, but like the team that had kind of started your demise over the past couple of years. So that part of it felt a little weird. And it was also a bit more bitter in the sense that you held it against the front office for not just kind of meeting him in the middle with the salary and keeping him a lifelong Bruin. So that part of it was a little yucky, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I mean, I can speak for myself here. Like that flipped the second that he scored the game 3 goal against Toronto, where it was just like, oh, I'm definitely going to be able to root for this guy, especially if it means that he's just once again the boogeyman for the Maple Leafs. So I was obviously like, I was happy to see him succeed because if he's gone, he's gone. You can't go back in time. I'm not going to root against him. So I was happy to see him succeed, happy to see him have his summer where once again he wins a Stanley Cup and is drunk for like 3 straight months and is a content machine. I was happy to see that some things never change there.
So, two follow-ups on that. One is, are you just at least happy he didn't end up signing with the Maple Leafs this offseason as that rumor was swirling around? And two,
Oh yeah.
is what's the domino effect of him not being there? Because I look back and I go, Boston, you made a mistake. He should be there. And I don't care if he's in his late 30s. He's still a heck of a player. He's not the same regular season guy for 82 games, but boy, when you get in the playoffs, you want him on your team. Luds was trying to figure out how Dallas could fit him into our minuscule salary cap. There's no way, but he was like, "No, if you do this and this, maybe we could do this." And he takes a less deal. And
well, they signed him for 6 years in Florida, right? They could sign him for 9 or 10 here. Then they got to fit him in.
But those two things. At least he's not with the Leafs. And what does it do to the Bruins now that he's not there anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where it's like, if you want to like compare it to like a romantic breakup or whatever, like you never want to see the person that you break up with like do so much better than you right away. And so that part it stings a little bit, but also there's an element of like Brad Marchand doesn't really change what the Bruins are right now by still being in Boston. It would just kind of be like you're both kind of miserable and you're just staying in this relationship because it's all you've ever known.
You don't want to
And
get the
so like
divorce while the kids are still in the house?
yeah, and so like I'm happy to see that he's kind of rediscovered like this really like this youthful exuberance and joy when it comes to playing the game, and you're getting playoff Brad Marchand. That part's really really cool. Um, as far as like where it leaves the Bruins, I think it was notable last year, even when he was here, that there is just not enough leadership on this team. And with him being gone, obviously there's even more of that lack. But like it just showed they haven't named a captain, and I don't think that there is a truly a captain to be named at this point in time. I think McAvoy and Pasternak are probably going to joust a little bit for the right to wear that next year. But hey, maybe they're keeping it open for somebody that they sign in free agency and make that part of the pitch that they make to that guy is, hey, we can give you the C. But I just think it was a big prevalent problem last year that this team did not have enough leadership from the coaching level to the player level, and they really really missed a guy who could step in front of things unraveling and get it back on track. And Marchand, for as much as I love him, he wasn't able to do that with that group last year.
It's funny, like Marchand in one of his post um, cup party and interviews,
a lot of posts.
and Gary Bettman gets out there a lot and talks about the tax has nothing to do with where people play. Well, I don't know if you heard it, but Brad Marchand, when he was talking about his see, Pete knows. he made a point somehow. I don't know, Pete, if you think that
Multiple
was on purpose
times.
or not,
Well,
but
no,
he made a
he
point
said
of
it
going out of the way to bring it up, didn't
multiple
he?
times.
What's
Yeah,
that?
he said explicitly multiple times
Yes.
that the no state income tax does in fact play a role. Like it may not be the most important thing, but it is an important thing, and it does factor into some guys' decisions. I think I'll paraphrase. I think he said like if you've got two deals on the table and they look similar, most guys are going to lean towards the one with no state income tax, and pretending like it is not a factor at all is ridiculous. And so that's kind of where I stand on it, where it is not necessarily like skewing like the competitive balance of the NHL, but it does play a role.
See, now, Ryan, pay attention to what I say here. Brad Marchand is not just a shift disturber on the ice.
I'm glad you enunciated
he's
that.
a shift disturber off the ice, too.
Yes.
Hey, Pete, so did his 2000 – when did they win the Cup the first time? 2011? Did that celebration live up to Marchand's celebration in Florida? Or did he –
I mean, he was a teenager back then.
Did he go a notch above it here? I don't know. I think he let it all hang out here.
Yeah, so I think I'm honestly more impressed with what he did this summer as like a guy who has shown so much growth and maturity over the years. Like if you had said after that 2011 run and what he did in the Cup celebration that hey, this guy is one day going to be the captain of your Boston Bruins, you're like, oh God, this team is screwed. And so he shows all that maturity and that personal growth just to go revert back in time and become that kid again in his 30s. And like I think that it's pretty special to see because it does kind of prove that like there's just it's like a boyhood dream, and when you win the cup it brings you back to your immature days, your boyhood, and it just releases kind of like the inner child in you while you're celebrating that. And to see him just kind of embrace it and not be ashamed of it, I thought it was very cool.
I was talking with Tyler Seguin a while ago. This was years ago now because he's brought this up a couple of times. He told me one story about that Stanley Cup celebration in 2011 that I cannot repeat on air, but it had to do with him and Marchand, of course, and some of Massachusetts' finest stadies. But we'll save that for another day. But what he really did, it's always stuck with me, is he said, back then he was a rookie. He thought, hey, they went to the Cup final again a couple years later. They thought, this is what you do in Boston. You go to Stanley Cup finals, you win cups, piece of cake. Well, it's been Tyler's entire career since, and they haven't won one. He hasn't won one again. So selfishly, I want to see the Stars do it because I want to see what the fully appreciating aging veteran Tyler Seguin would do with the Stanley Cup, just like Marchand just did with Florida. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I liked what Sagan said. I believe it was a couple years ago. I think it was maybe not this past year, last year after they lost to the Oilers, when he said, you know, most of the time you have to lose in this league and lose painfully to learn how to win. And I thought that was very true, but also a little ironic for it to come from Tyler Seguin, who walks into the league as this like young superstar and immediately wins the Stanley Cup. But it kind of just goes to show that he was kind of an immature idiot at the beginning of his career, and he's developed into a much more like mature and like veteran leader for that Dallas team. And so that's cool to see. And I think that he was right on the nose with saying like you very, very rarely see a team walk into the playoffs and be ready to win right away. You got to learn how to lose, and you got to kind of be molded by that heartbreak.
All right, let's do a couple of Stars questions. Good. I don't know why I'm asking. We can do that. Let's talk about this. This is Stars
I don't
podcast.
have any saying anything anyway.
Yeah,
so
you
ahead.
do. Pete, what do you see? You watch this Dallas Stars team. You know what they went through in the playoffs. You know the coaching change. Where are they at going into this season?
I mean, coaching is really important, and I don't know what they're going to get in terms of that regard. But when you're talking about the roster on paper, like they're returning pretty much the same team. And to me, they should be once again one of the best teams in the Western Conference. And I do feel like one of these days they're going to get over that hump. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like this is a team that is built to win in the playoffs and built to win, win it all. And they've been close, and it might seem like it's going a little bit backwards in a way, but I just think that might be a year-to-year circumstance thing. I still think this team can absolutely win the cup.
Hey, I want to ask one question. So,
Please.
Pete, and I'm done. I hear Owen ask this question to everybody that we have on, Pete, and I hear the word should quite a bit. And why do you say should? Is there something that's missing? Was it behind the bench? Is it a certain position? Is there any reason that you say that, or just because it's the playoffs and only one team wins the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, it's more just about like it's a 2 month grind. Anything can happen. The margins are so thin. Like luck plays into it, and you know, oftentimes like you're a team that could win the Stanley Cup, but you run into a team that is just playing better than you or matches up better against a certain team, and they end up coming out ahead. And when I look at Dallas, like in the past couple of years, like I don't feel like they're failures. Maybe this past year, just because they really, really struggled to find offense, and they just kind of got ran over in that Western Conference Final. Like, but you went up against the Edmonton Oilers, who were just like a juggernaut, hit their stride in the playoffs, and kind of made quick work of almost everybody that they played until they met the Panthers. So that to me, like I don't necessarily think that it's a massive indictment of Dallas that they lost to Edmonton in the conference final again. And I don't think that it means that if they meet Edmonton this year in the playoffs that they're screwed. Like I don't feel like they have as much of an affliction as like the Kings do, where there's something in the water when they meet Edmonton. It's just like, I know that this is not going to go well for them. I don't feel that way when it comes to Dallas. I just think that last year they just kind of limped into the playoffs a little bit, and then they lost whatever spark that they had going in the Western Conference Final, and they couldn't score.
I'm not trying to shill for this team, but every time we look at one of the other groups, especially teams that are slotted to be more in the murky middle, the ones that aren't up in that upper echelon, like you're always talking about teams talking about, oh, geez, we got to find who our number 2 center is going to be, or we don't have that guy, or whatever. And meanwhile, we're complaining that there may be a hole in the second or third line left wing that hasn't been replaced with Marchand gone. You look at the defense and going, who's going to be the number 4 behind Haskin and Harley and Lindell? It's kind of an obscene sort of luxury to say, well, you've got Hintz, Duchesne, Johnston, Foxa, and poor Sam Steele might have to play second line left wing because of that. I mean, it is a pretty deep team. I think we're so in it all the time that sometimes we go, well, this could be better. It's not a perfect roster, but if you were going to take somebody from the Stars roster, Pete, pluck them, don't worry about salary cap, this is our fantasy world, and put them on the Bruins right now, who would you take and why?
Well,
No,
I
put them
mean,
on the here, Pete. Put them on the Bruins in 3 years from now, because I don't know if one player is going to help them right now.
Fair enough.
I think that the answer would have to be Miro Heiskanen, just because he's like one of the best defensemen in the entire National Hockey League. And if you don't pick that guy, you're kind of an idiot. But I also like I would be tempted to pick Wyatt Johnston just because of the age factor and the fact that the Bruins absolutely need an injection in their forward group, and they need to give David Pastrnak some help in terms of his ability to score goals. So like it would be one of those two guys, and I don't think it's particularly close after that.
Well, Pete, I wish we could keep going, but we are out of time. So I will just say this. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have you on again. It's been a while. We'll do it again. And most importantly, go Sox.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you very much, and go Sox.